I'm unfortunately a couple minutes late, which increasingly seems to be the norm, but I think that's fine. You know, whenever I'm a couple minutes late, I just stream a couple minutes longer, and it's all well and good. Welcome back to the stream. I've actually done everything I need to do today. How was your day? I got the giant ice cream Pokemon. My day has been pretty good. I have been relatively productive this morning. And I reached out to a commission artist, or rather, I tweeted that I was looking for some commission work. And of course, Godspeed to all the commission artists. They flooded my mentions. And if I look at this tweet here, 32 replies, all of them being like, well, except for one, which was me, clarifying that I actually already, I decided to work with somebody. 31 replies that weren't myself, all offering, hey, I'm open to work, I can do commissions, hit me up in the DMs, I can do some stuff for you if you want. And it was, honestly, it was a lot, a lot of people flooding the mentions, wanting to do commission work, but it felt good to know that, like, everybody's willing to do that sort of stuff out there. So I have, sealed the deal, as it were, with a commission artist to make a nice overlay, so that there could be a nice L shape somewhere here, where I could have the webcam and then chat and then have like a bunch of notifications of like, oh, this person subscribed, this person followed, and have some other stuff, like other text that's typical for like a stream chat or like stream overlay. And it's just a matter of time. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm pretty patient with that sort of stuff. They can take all the time they need, and that's fine. Look, my priority first and foremost is that it looks the way I want it to, and that I can sort of make the stream look how I want it to. I'm willing to wait a good amount of time for that, regardless. So that'll be good. And I saw the most delightful news this morning. Finally, Dick Cheney has passed away at the age of 84. Rest in piss, bozo. Packwatch, you will not be missed. Bro shot a lawyer in the face and then made that lawyer and his family apologize, or in their family rather. I don't remember what gender the lawyer was. Apologized to him for being shot in the face. Bro basically was the driving force in the Bush administration, and many, if not most, of the war crimes that America committed in that period can be in some degree attributed to Dick Cheney. And now he is gone. This is kind of like, I feel like there's kind of a similar feeling going around to when Henry Kissinger finally kicked the bucket. And on top of that, couldn't have happened on a better day. Today, being the first Tuesday in November, is election day for every city and state in the country that has elections in 2025. Most states and like areas will have elections on the on year, so even numbered years, but there are some states that have them in the off years. One notably being New York City. The election for the mayor of New York is today, and all indications are Mamdani is killing it. I remember first learning about him. I'm going to tell you guys a story. This man is so good at what he does. He's so good at committing to the bit and meaning it. The first video I saw of him, and then Della Rowan, I'll get to that in just a second. Thanks for the follow. The first thing I saw of Zoran Mamdani was that he was a mayoral candidate in New York City running on the platform of freezing rent. The first video I saw of him, he was at the beach in January in his suit, and he jumped in the water And he said he came out of the water, like you could see his skin turning like red from how cold it was. And he's a brown dude. This is not like an easy feat to do, to make a brown dude's skin turn red because of how cold it is. He looks at the camera and says, "It's freezing out here. That's what I'm gonna do to your rent." And that made such an impact on me. It's like, oh shit, he's pretty good at this. And ever since, he's been such an inspiring presence throughout the race, just because of how little he's changed since then. It really feels like he has not actually toned down his radicalism. There are some areas in which he's sort of had to strategically soften some rhetorical edges, but when he's pressed on certain issues in media interviews, the most important thing is that he doesn't capitulate. He'll stick to the original position. Hello. Sounds like a YouTuber. Yeah, imagine a really cool, charismatic, energetic YouTuber who's really good at posting on social media, except he actually believes in stuff. Isn't that great? Like, your average YouTuber is doing all the clickbait shit just to try to get that bread, which of course we all need to get that bread, right? But like, Mamdani's a politician, and he believes in that shit. He has a consistent aesthetic, that nice blue and orange. He had been going around to all these like local businesses and shit, you know, random like sandwich shop or whatever, getting a sandwich, talking to the small business owner, be like, you know, we're gonna increase taxes so that you know, giant corpos can't price out the like mom and pop shops in the city. Who are struggling to make ends meet. We're gonna freeze the rent so that like both tenants and businesses that have to pay rent are not going to like get fucking squeezed for all they're worth. We're gonna introduce city-owned grocery stores so people can have a consistent supply of food and at like not insane prices. I think it's obvious when somebody's doing a job for the reason of not working at McDonald's. Yeah, you can kind of tell, like, the difference between Mamdani and your garden variety YouTuber. Professional artist with about 7 to 8 years of experience. I can make custom artwork, stream assets, overlays, VTuber models. Can I show you my work? We're starting soon, BRB and end screens. I'm not interested in that stuff right now. I'm sorry to say. I know I posted on Twitter, but within a couple minutes, people were already all over it, and I already sealed the deal on the like a stream overlay, and because I now have a pre-existing like working relationship with this this other commission artist for a custom BRB screen or whatever, I'd probably go back to them. So sorry. Nonetheless, I appreciate all of the activity and enthusiasm that people show whenever like a small streamer reaches out like, hey, I need some commission stuff. So thank you, but not interested. Anyways, Mamdani, Mamdani, and other such incantations, shall we say. Gas leak. I didn't know Andrew Cuomo was here. Andrew Cuomo, speaking of the election, has been very checked out to such an extent. Like he's so over it and like clearly doesn't have a chance. So much so that he's been Hassan posting. This guy, by the way, Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York State, former fucking what's the head position, like the Secretary of Housing, right? He was the like chair of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, you know? Like he was the boss of that government department, and then he was the governor of the state of New York. And now he is, because of all the sexual assault allegations, because the Democratic Party dragged his ass out of like obscurity and disgrace just so that they could throw somebody at Mamdani so that he would lose, which they failed, by the way, El Bozo. now he is reduced to talking about how do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn globalize the Intifada? Thing that Zoran Mamdani didn't even say. Do you disavow Hassan Piker? Literally, bro this is how you know a politician is washed. They're talking about Twitch politics drama regarding Hassan. Like, give it a rest, dude. That's crazy. But you know, that makes me very happy that there's going to be a progressive, like left-leaning, social democratic mayor of New York City, who actually has a vision for what New York is going to be. You know, it's the circumstances of me like having recently moved, being really busy in the final couple weeks of that cycle has been really unfortunate, because I wish I could have done more phone banking for Zoran Mamdani. You know, I wish I could have. I got the chance to do a couple, but I can't take any of the credit for him having what he did. That shit himself. He was out there canvassing so hard, like harder than I've ever seen anybody canvass. And this is in an era where politicians are historically disconnected from the regions and areas where they're running to govern, right? Like, in the modern context, everybody thinks of, and in some cases rightly so, politicians as being separate from the community that they are governing, right? Like, Andrew Cuomo is a very clear example of that. So is, I think, Eric Adams. But you know who's not? You know who is very much integrated into their communities, care deeply about New York? Curtis Sliwa and Zoran Mamdani. You can, you know, whatever your political disagreements with either of them, the most important thing, I think, for the revitalization of politics, you cannot accuse either of them of not caring about New York. You could very fairly levy that accusation to Andrew Cuomo, who lives in a fucking, like, I don't know, millions of dollars townhouse and, like, drives his car everywhere and, like, fucking only ever talks with consultants and generates ads with AI and, like, barely made an effort. Curtis Sliwa always wears the red beret. He's always out with the parades. He's always talking about, you know, the guardian angels and whatever. He's always, you know, doing something around New York. He's very active in the Republican Party. Zoran Mamdani has been working his ass off, doing insane hours out on the streets in the neighborhoods, canvassing for his campaign, talking to business owners, tenants, and like everybody in between, people of all different backgrounds. And I think that's amazing. And we need that. We need that in the rest of the country, you know? Oh yeah, that also something incredibly funny. So we knew already that Andrew Cuomo was not only in Epstein's black book, by the way, you know, the flight logs for the Lolita Express, that fucking pedophile private jet. Andrew Cuomo's in there. We also knew that Andrew Cuomo had a phone call with Donald Trump, and the two had something of a working relationship. What we didn't know, and what happened recently, what we now know, I guess, is that Donald Trump actually endorsed Andrew Cuomo for the mayorship of New York. He is the Trump-backed candidate. Andrew Cuomo is the pro-Trump candidate. And when he's questioned about this, he will actually, I saw there was a clip from a radio show where he was questioned about, like, his association with Donald Trump. He actually just hung up. He called into this radio show. By the way, sign of obscurity that there's like a random online podcast or whatever that Andrew Cuomo is having to call into to even approximate some degree of relevancy, right? And then they asked, like, yeah, so you had a call with Trump recently and he endorsed you. He said that, like, people should vote for you and and not Mamdani or Sliwa. Donald Trump's, by the way, the Democrats have sandbagged the Democrat, the Republicans have sandbagged the Republican, and both parties have consolidated behind Andrew Cuomo, and it's not doing a goddamn thing for them. Yeah, this would be like a historic loss. Just complete, like, one for the fucking history books. For like the political establishment, for the Democrats and the Republicans, because the mission of the political establishment is for nothing to fundamentally change, for wealth to just keep passively consolidating, and for every city in America fundamentally to just turn into Dubai, a playground for the wealthy that runs on slave labor where, like, life sucks unless you have $1 gazillion. Right? And I think this is like a unique repudiation of that political objective, because neither the Democratic nor Republican candidate in the race are particularly friendly to those business interests. Those business interests particularly. And neither of them have been backed by their respective parties. The Republican Party at the national level, outer state, whatever. The Republican Party at the national level is saying, vote for Andrew Cuomo so that Zoran Mamdani doesn't win. Don't vote for Sliwa, our own candidate, by the way. And the Democratic Party has declined to endorse Zoran Mamdani. Chuck Schumer, even just recently, said that he's not going to disclose who he voted for. Look at this. Here, I quote tweeted Ken Klippenstein. Shout outs to Ken Klippenstein. New York City mayor's race from New York Times. Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York and the minority leader, never did endorse in the mayoral race. None of the Democratic leadership endorsed Zoran Mamdani. I think the only high-ranking Democrat that did was Governor Kathy Hochul. And that's because, as much of a snake as Kathy Hochul is, she's a snake who's good at her job, which is being a politician and hanging on to power. And she realizes that the way the wind is blowing is towards Zoran Mamdani. So she needs to kiss the ring. She needs to capitulate to him, to the progressives, in order to keep her position. Zoran Mamdani has not been endorsed by Hakeem Jeffries or by Chuck Schumer. Yeah, smartest neolib. And now on election day, Chuck Schumer is reticent on who he voted for. He voted early, and his team would not reveal who he voted for. He will inevitably be asked about it this afternoon at the Capitol at his weekly news conference. So there you have it. Chuck Schumer voted early, and when asked about it, he was like, no, I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, which means he voted for Cuomo, by the way. If he had endorsed Zoran Mamdani, he would say that. He would say that up front. The Democratic leader, the leaders of the Democratic Party, both of whom are Zoran Mamdani's constituents, by the way, they live in his district. Zoran Mamdani is the assemblyman for Astoria, Queens. Schumer and Jeffries are both constituents of Zoran Mamdani, and neither of them endorsed him, and Chuck Schumer didn't vote for him. They are snubbing the nominee from their own party, which is insane. This is how much these people hate you, man. Republicans and Democrats both, in this instance, when there is a threat to corporate power, when there's a threat to the power of corporations, oligarchs, and, like, the financial forces that are destroying this country, they are united in wanting to kill you, in not wanting to fix it. Because their job is just to collect the paycheck. Their job is just to collect the paycheck, to share in the whole incestuous quid pro quo between them and the consultants and the business, magnates and the oligarchs and whatever. They're all part of that club, Their job is just to funnel as much money as possible into that cycle and out of the real economy. But here comes Zoran Mamdani, who's saying, you know what, we should bring the real economy back. What if we had a bus service that actually worked? What if we put more money into public transportation funding? What if we froze the rent? What if we actually tried to bring rent down? What if we built more affordable housing? What if we revitalized the you know, like food supply chain? What if we made the city livable again? And the Democrats looked at that and they hissed and recoiled like a vampire in the sun. And so did the Republicans, by the way. The Republicans just did so much more angrily. It's funny how fast they mobilize and they will still lose against him. Yes, mark my words when I say this is the beginning of the death of the old guard Democratic Party. And when I say old guard, that doesn't just mean older members, as in people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. No. I mean old guard ideologically. This is the beginning of the death of neoliberalism within the Democratic Party. And they're going to resist this. They're going to try to, like, prevent this change from happening every step of the way. But at this point, it's inevitable. The neolibs are going to lose their power unless they capitulate to progressives in very major ways. You know? How much they resist simply has implications for how ugly it's going to be for outcomes in the rest of the country before progressives get to take the reins. Like, fully, that is. You know? What do you think their next desperate move is going to be? Honestly, I really don't know. You know? The first thing I could go to in terms of immediacy is, like, I don't know, maybe they try to undercut Zoran Mamdani while he's in office or something like that. But even so, like, I don't know if they would do that even. You know? Regardless of what they do, though, I don't think it's gonna matter. I don't think anything can save them from this. And by save them from this, I mean save them from having to, like, capitulate to progressives and move the country in a positive direction. Democrats want to do anything except something positive. Because that takes the most effort, is doing something positive. Oh wait, I need to check if there are gummies in the storage unit. Imagine if something insane like try to arrest him. Republicans have floated that. Don't forget they're slaves to capital. Yes, this is like, you know, it kind of, it's both bad and good that Democrats are so ineffective, because, like, that generates negative inertia for them to not do anything. But at the same time, it also makes them really, really bad at acting competently in desperate situations. You know? And this is a desperate situation for them. They're going to lose a lot of political influence, power, and legitimacy. More so than they already have, which is, you know, in a way that's kind of difficult to imagine. Huh? See more of those stupid AI videos they've been making. Yeah, it's actually wild. The bulk of Andrew Cuomo's campaign has been AI generated. Yeah, the Halloween one. Oh boy, that was really funny. And they take the shot at Sliwa too in that same ad. Jeez, that's funny. Make you the leader so that then Y2K can eat some gummies. Juicing. Speaking of candy. Nice. Nice. Make leader. And now, here, let's see. You're level 21. You're only level 15. This fight is not going to end when he gets in office. Oh, yeah, no, this is just part one. We're going to do everything in their power to make him look as pathetic as possible. Well, yeah, what they're going to try to do is undermine all of his political objectives, right? So, like, we have to be #1 Mamdani supporter, like all of us. Take that raspberry, thank you. Now that I've got a full team, I'll put this Rossberry back. I'll save, and then I'll do some dojo training. That Rossberry back. Good. Basically, Zoran Mamdani, by virtue of being energetic, by caring a lot, by having done actual activism, by having a history of activism and grassroots political engagement, and through being actually really good at using the social media stuff, he made being a Democrat cool again, kind of. Like, being a Zoran Mamdani Democrat, that's cool. And then, like, he's being opposed by all of the most terminally uncool people on planet Earth. Like, here, let me find that picture of Hakeem Jeffries with the baseball bat. Where's that photo? Look, this is, this is the best that, like, when confronted with fucking, like, what was it? The one big beautiful bill, and, like, the government shutdown, whatever. This is the best Hakeem Jeffries can do. This man is the House Minority Leader for the Democratic Party. And he was like, let me just take a photo for the gram with me holding a baseball bat. That'll show him. Bro, go on TV and call them pedophiles and yell at them. Like, what the fuck? This guy, like, Democrats have such a lack of understanding of politics. This is what they think is like, oh yeah, this will show the kids that we're cool. Really cementing, by the way, the notion that politicians are like, are a fundamentally different class of person than, like, people whose fate is decided by politics, if that makes sense, right? Like, this motherfucker does not go outside. His ass is not touching grass. Meanwhile, Zoran Mamdani is #1 grass-touching enjoyer. Or something. You know what I mean? They think of workers as sheep on a farm. Yeah, they legitimately think of the American people as a nuisance that is beneath them, that they simply have to overcome in order to remain in their jobs and to have political power. Like, there is a fundamentally anti-democratic mindset to such an extent that they literally cannot comprehend interacting with politics democratically, having to, like, talk to people, you know, because they're too busy talking to consultants who basically are not people. If that makes sense. All right, Makahita Dojo, what do you got? But regardless, at time of recording, the election still has not finished. Voting is occurring right now. There's been early voting happening for the past couple months since the primary. And we won't know the vote totals until late this evening. Or for the Europeans, it'll be like tomorrow morning. Yeah, if you're new, like, fat chance that anybody watching the stream this will be, like, relevant to them. But, like, if you're in New York and you haven't voted, go fucking vote for Zoran Mamdani right now. Legitimately, this is the easiest possible way for you to contribute to fucking fixing New York City and starting to turn this country around and point it in a good direction. You know? Let's do the ice maze. But yeah, we'll see. I think the only real question is like how big of a margin will Zoran Mamdani win by, because it's pretty heavily likely that he will win because of just the sheer enthusiasm and energy and hope and aspiration and belief that is behind him. You know? Like I said in the other video segment, that is in the thumbnail of the other video segment, that there is hope for America if Zoran wins. I still believe that, and I will reiterate that. If Zoran Mamdani wins, which he's very likely to at this point, there is hope for America. And yeah, the main question is how overwhelming of a victory will it be? Future me, end that segment. Donald Trump, as usual, is going to claim the election was rigged. Yeah, and that's not even, like, I didn't even mention the actual election interference that's been happening on Twitter, where Elon Musk has been, like, manually and artificially boosting anti-Mamdani content on election day, which, by the way, is not going to have the effect that he hopes it will. Twitter is overrun by bots, you know? And most of the people on Twitter would like already be anti-Mamdani. Let's be real. If you are on Twitter, you already have an opinion of Mamdani, and fucking random neo-Nazis posting is not going to change your opinion. And Donald Trump and his administration threatening to arrest Mamdani and to, like even just weighing in on the election at all is a form of election interference. Yeah, it truly is. Like, stopping political progress in this respect is like trying to hold back water. It's just, the pressure's just going to build up and up and up. Eventually, water flows to the lowest point and nothing is going to stop that. You know, eventually the dam's going to break. Oh yeah, not to mention also that Trump has threatened to cut, like, federal funding from New York if Zoran Mamdani wins. Again, illegal and election interference. Fighting mace time. Very good. Lowered your attack just so you could raise your attack again. Okay. Think they're doing the exact opposite of what they want? Yeah, because Republicans, for all of the times that I've said that they are smarter than Democrats, which is true, Republican, you know, politicians and operatives, they are still very stupid. I think the only thing they know how to do is, like, if you do blank, I will stab this child. Republicans. Yeah. That is mostly what they know how to do, is hold the country or whatever city or state hostage. Like, if you don't do what we want and capitulate more power to us, we will kill several thousand children. Never mind the fact that they wanted to do that anyways. The Republicans will threaten you with institutionally killing children unless you capitulate power to them. But the reason they want that power is to kill more children. It's like, why? And then Democrats just, they do the fucking, whatever the Generation X equivalent of ooh-woo posting is. there are the stairs. Jack, how are you looking? 625 experience? Alright. That's to the next level. It's also funny that most liberals sound dead inside all the time. Yeah, liberals go through like anti-media training, where like a lot of the neoliberal conventional political tactics and strategies were cooked up and set in stone in the 80s and 90s when cable TV was the new hot thing, and like evening television news was the norm, and like the 24-hour news cycle was brand new, and social media and the internet didn't exist. So they, and like it was this weird like maximally media disconnected era where you had to optimize for being a lizard person for things to play well on TV. But that doesn't fucking work on social media. Let's go to the ground maze. Even though they're full of hate, they have life. Yes, their hate gives them power. There is purpose in their hatred. You know? Democrats, on the other hand, are like purposeless. They are pointless. They have no purpose in politics except to coast by on inertia and do nothing. Yeah, it's a very cynical approach that they've just kind of, they're just kind of conceded that like, oh well, society's broken anyway, so I'll just like take advantage of that, you know, and make a career out of it, right? What's the term? Like rats on a sinking ship? Yeah, and they have this sneering, dismissive attitude that like they think anybody who views politics as an actual avenue to make the world better as just like fundamentally dumb, and they'll like condescend to you. Like they can't even get away with being that condescending. They get fucking dogged for it most of the time because they're wrong. You know? It's like okay. Imagine Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat, who regularly gets clapped by everybody in that game and still thinks that he's like flawless. You know? Most useless person on planet Earth, somehow still extremely narcissistic and has a superiority complex. That's like an archetype of person and character in media and in real life. And the neoliberal core of the Democratic Party fits that perfectly. It's level 16 now. Yeah, and they'll double down too. But like obviously not for any belief in anything, you know. Cool. I've grown stronger. All right. Now I'll do these two mazes, and then I'll go do that job that I have accepted on the list. Although I want to also walk around town again to see if like any more story progression occurs. What's up, Pidgey? Pidgey doesn't give any experience, dude. That's crazy. All my opponents are egotistical and stupid. Yeah, except real. It's like everybody is stupid except me. But like in the case of progressives, that's real. Because progressives believe in some shit. And if you're a progressive, your opponent is either neolibs or Nazis. Or, you know, any varying range of neocons and fascists that aren't Nazis or whatever between there, you know. Is taking too much sour stuff make your tongue bleed? Because it's acidic. It's literally eroding your taste buds and stuff. Yeah. At least I think so. Why is it so addictive? Humans are, I don't know, kind of masochistic at times. I don't know. It's for the same reason that people like spicy shit, you know? Like that hot feeling that you get that when you eat something spicy, that's literally simulated pain. It's your body feeling pain without anything actually being damaged. You know? But there's like a kind of rush for that because you start sweating, your heart rate increases and whatever. Nice. Finish the flying maze. Yeah. I think there's one more. Yeah, psychic maze. I think this should give some decent experience points depending on what Pokemon that are psychic type I've encountered up to this point. You like what? Baltoy, Beldum, Meditite. Oh, there's Wobbuffet. Yeah, okay, decent amount of EXP. Stay outside for more than 2 minutes, I'll die by frostbite. It's not even December yet. Yeah, that's, you know. It is what it is. Depending on where you are, it gets, like, cold faster or not. In my experience, even in places that aren't, like, particularly, cold, like don't get super duper cold in the winter, the cold just kind of hits all at once and you just kind of stop having warm days, if that makes sense. Really cold even though there's no snow. Basically it's possible for it to be too cold to snow. You know, there's a range of like a few degrees Fahrenheit where it can snow, between 29 degrees Fahrenheit and like 30 something. If it's too cold, then the air is too... It doesn't have enough energy to hold any moisture. Hey, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Yeah, like if the air is less than, I think it's 29 degrees Fahrenheit, up at a certain altitude where these things happen, then there's not enough like energy in the air to hold moisture. Like it can't, no condensation can happen. So lower than a certain temperature, it actually can't snow. Because in order for it to snow, it would need to like, basically water would need to condense into clouds, and basically the process of rain would need to happen just in a temperature low enough that the water would freeze. And there's only a very small range of temperatures where it's both cold enough for water to freeze and warm enough that there's still energy in the air that can contain moisture. Very, very small range of temperatures, given like climatological variations between regions, you know? That's why on very cold days, you sometimes get like, you will actually pretty consistently get a very cold looking blue sky with very few clouds, if any. You know, that's why cold days consistently look like that. Because it's just too cold for any moisture to remain in the sky. That's also why you need to moisturize extra during the winter, because the air is super fucking dry. How's your stream going? It's going pretty good. Of course, Trump is refusing to pay SNAP just because he feels like it. Ah, yes. The as I thought was going to happen, and it did end up happening. The Trump administration is dragging their feet with food stamp like benefit payments. I don't know how much Trump. I mean, Trump might actually authentically care about that, because one of the few things that Trump genuinely is racist. Like, Trump is disingenuously a lot of things, like doesn't actually believe in it. You know, for example, Trump doesn't actually care that much about trans people or transphobia. He doesn't really, like, he doesn't care. He's even said the only reason that I say transphobic things is because that gets the base to applaud. You know, he doesn't actually believe that. Yeah. Trump is, though, authentically racist. Like, he actually is racist. But because of SNAP, like anti-food stamps talking points being very racialized, like, oh, it's all like black welfare queen Democrats that rely on SNAP, so they deserve to die or whatever. He might actually be somewhat ideologically committed to this bit. Yeah, the Trump and the Republicans, mind you, I think the Republicans believe in this shit more fervently than Donald Trump does. The Republicans are using like fucking starving Americans as leverage to try to force Democrats to agree to their terms. By the way, the Democrats are in DC. For how much shit I talk about the Democrats have said, we're willing to negotiate if you fund these federal programs. And the Republicans are the people on vacation who aren't even in town and have decided just not to even do town halls or anything. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly how many of their constituents rely on food stamps. They do not care. I saw your post that you're looking for an artist for Twitch stuff on Twitter. Yes, that post was, I got flooded with artists after a couple of minutes, and I've already sealed the deal with one of them to make an overlay. So right now I'm not really interested. Thank you for reaching out, though. Meanwhile, during the shutdown, Trump ordered a new ballroom for the White House. Oh, might be. Yeah, that's right. Trump had a Great Gatsby. Literally, saying Great Gatsby-esque is not even an exaggeration, because it was directly inspired by the Great Gatsby. Trump had like a big old party at the ballroom with all of his wealthy friends, like all the oligarchs and shit, while the administration was saying, no, we're not going to pay out SNAP benefits. The benefits that, by the way, 2 judges said that they were legally bound to pay out because Congress approved that money specifically to pay out in case of a government shutdown. And the government's saying, no, I don't feel like it. Let me see if I can look that up. Trump administration SNAP. Yeah, look, from 1 hour ago, Trump threatens to withhold SNAP funding until shutdown ends. This is after the court order. Like, the court order happened, 2 federal judges said you have to fucking pay out this money, and the administration is still like, No, we don't want to do that. Appears to. Fuck you, Politico. I hate how bought American media is. All these news outlets are evil, and they fucking hate you. Announcement appears to. Read definitely does and is like the most illegal thing under the sun. You know how hard you have to violate a law to get a news outlet to even mention that this could be illegal? Required Trump to pay for some of... No, it required them to pay all of that money. But it permitted, like, yeah, partial payments at least by Wednesday. And then full payments by Monday. Comes just after the USDA sent guidance to states instructing them to provide half of benefits in November. Oh yeah, by the way, I remember the USDA yesterday actually told like the United States Department of Agriculture actually told grocery stores. They went to the grocery stores and told them, yeah, don't accept people's EBT cards. EBT cards, by the way, that's how SNAP benefits are administered. That card is good for certain purchases, right? And that's how people get the like 180 some bucks a month or whatever the amount is depending on the state, which is fucking pithy, by the way. And the fucking gall, they don't have the legal authority to do this, by the way. After the court order, the United States Department of Agriculture went to told grocery store companies, don't accept these cards at checkout counters, deny people their food stamps. Literally, like, you know how committed you have to be. This is not the kind of actions that administration would engage in if they didn't authentically believe in a project of mass death from denying people food aid. Trump is like, screw it, I'm about to die anyway, I don't care about consequences. That's kind of how he's been acting. But this is not just Trump. This is the whole ass party. The whole ass government has been on this shit. You know, Trump didn't tell USDA to do that. This is a belief that Republicans already held. If you look at politics in the 80s and 90s, before Trump was politically relevant to the degree he is now, the Republicans still believed shit like this. They hated food stamps, and they still hate food stamps. The White House referred Politico to the Truth Social post when asked for more information. USDA didn't respond to a request for comment. See, it's the whole fucking government. Republicans have urged Democrats to say, shut the fuck up, Politico. Oh my god. Here, let me look up. I'm going to look up the USDA. Here, USDA tells grocery stores. Where is it? Yeah, look, from the Hill. USDA tells grocery stores no special discounts for SNAP recipients. Psychotic. Yeah, this is how racism has worked historically, by the way. It's not about supporting the racial in-group. It is about inflicting maximum suffering on the racial out-group, no matter if that also destroys the racial in-group. You know, they are willing to put 40 million Americans on the line just because in their heads, this is epic and based and red-pilled and hurts black people. USDA emailed grocery stores prohibiting them. They don't have the authority to do that. Prohibiting them from offering discounts to SNAP recipients amid the government shutdown. As your chief strategist, I'm advising you to keep posting this shit, Republican Party. Yeah, how to scare a conservative. Ooh, food is a human right. Ooh. Food is a human right. Medical care and medicine are human rights. Housing is a human right. Every conservative just shit themselves. On Monday, Trump admin officials told a federal judge in Rhode Island that it would provide partial SNAP benefits for November via a $4.65 billion contingency fund. Two federal judges had ordered the administration to do so Friday. November SNAP benefits for more than 40 million recipients are estimated to cost more than $9 billion, so they're providing half of the funding. Yeah, whenever you're like, you tell them anything in politics, what they constantly, what right-wingers in their head constantly are thinking of, this lives in their head rent-free. They always go to first and immediately, can an entitled black person benefit from this? And if the answer could even possibly remotely be yes, they will oppose that thing until their last dying breath, even if it would single-handedly lift them out of poverty. You can't, like, this is what we're watching here is part of a fundamental breakdown of the social contract. These people are willing to destroy society and, like, programs that are foundational to society being able to function even remotely, just because it helps somebody that they don't like. That might not even exist. This is like, it's such a antisocial political conviction that would have to lead you to do this. Like, this kind of belief literally cannot be allowed to exist in society, because the only thing that this belief serves to do is motivate people to want to kill somebody else. If I'm the Democrats, I'm throwing every Republican in prison off of this alone. You wanted 40 million Americans to starve. You broke the law in order to see that happen. Doesn't matter whether you got away with it or not. You were willing to go out of your way, violate the Constitution, make shit up in federal court just to watch black people starve. Get your ass out of government and don't ever touch the halls of power again. Like, there needs to be, in response to this shit, I am going to be sorely disappointed if there's not, like, a fucking national crash out against the Republican Party and against, like, the Republican base, basically, and everything that they believe. And when I say that, people might think that sounds scary, but what I'm talking about is shut the fuck up and take your goddamn rent-stabilized housing, free healthcare, and cheap food. Shut the fuck up and accept a raised quality of life. You know, your black neighbor will benefit from it too. I don't want to hear any shit from you. This is not just them looking a gift horse in the mouth. Like, Republicans won't just look a gift horse in the mouth. They'll fucking shoot the horse if it comes from somebody that also wants to help a black person or something like that. Save the game. I've been waffling for so long. So yeah, I mentioned that even though the judges ruled against the Trump administration, it was entirely possible that the government would just drag its feet, because they've done that before. This government is no stranger to ignoring court orders, and it seems that they have sort of done so again. I thought they were gonna drag their feet, and they dragged their feet. What's next after a Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red rescue team? I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. I might make that a segment. That might be a good segment. If it is future me, cut it right about here. Yeah. Legitimately, actually, don't cut it yet. I have one more thing to say. Legitimately, this is extremely politically detrimental to the Republicans. Like I said earlier, as your chief strategist, I'm advising you to keep posting this shit. you know, because this is gonna really, like, this is not something that people easily forget. Like, oh, hey, remember when the fucking Republican Party held the country hostage and tried to destroy food stamps and, like, put 40 million Americans in danger of a food crisis? You know? And they're, by the way, keep in mind, they are all doing this just to buy time to expunge all their names from the Epstein files. The Republicans are putting tens of millions of Americans in danger of going hungry for two reasons and two reasons alone. Number one, because they hate black people. Number two, because their names are all in the Epstein files and they need time for the government to not be able to function so they can go into the Epstein files, be like, shit, fuck, and delete all their names from, you know, from any records associated with that. Republicans destroyed food stamps for racism and pedophilia. Now cut the segment. And then insert liberal names. They wouldn't really need to insert a whole lot of liberal names. There's plenty of people in the Democratic Party that are wrapped up in the Epstein files as well. You know, very prominent one being Bill Clinton. Yeah, there's a reason that, like, it was only a few renegade politicians that voted to release the Epstein files, and why the number's only very slowly been growing. Because a lot of very powerful people have been implicated, or are implicated. You know, now I am thinking a little bit about what do I do after Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. And I do like playing games that have a defined start and end. Like, this game is relatively open-ended because you can just farm jobs on the bulletin board and stuff even after you beat the game, like including the post game. But it does have a point where it's like, great, now you've beaten the post game, right? Like, you've definitively beaten the game. I think I want to play more games like that. Games where there's like a pretty well-defined objective thing to work towards or build towards, you know? So whatever I play, it's probably going to be something in that vein. Well, floor. Okay. I can probably... I think I'll just go to the stairs probably as soon as I find them. Because this is an escort mission, I probably shouldn't be even risking it like this. Been wanting to play Platinum again? Well, then why not live that out vicariously through me? I'll play Pokemon Platinum on stream. That game is sick. Hog? Yeah. Funny that he's bigger than you, but lower level. Oh, Platinum! That's true. Fucking love Start Platinum from JoJo's. I really like that there's a lot of stands that are like wall of text, and then Star Platinum is just the fucking, what was it, people use that video of King Von or whatever. Like, what if I just beat the shit out of you? I didn't need to do that. I accidentally pressed space. Where the fuck is the stairs? Hello? Don't tell me it's this way. I guess it is. Okay. I didn't want to, but I ended up exploring the whole floor anyway. You are gonna eat this razor leaf. Or not, because misinput. Alright, whatever. JoJo's has the best power system? True. I fucking love the creativity of the stands in JoJo's. Even Star Platinum, which is the most simple, like, concept of stand, manages to be very creative in its implementation. You think about it, this stand is just, I'm really fast and beat the shit out of people. Yeah, I just, like, it's like the one stand in the whole series that's like, I can punch you harder than you can punch me. And I'm also really fucking fast. But they use it in such creative ways. Like, when you watch the episode, spoilers, by the way, for JoJo's Part 3, when you watch the episode of JoJo versus Darby the Elder, yeah, it's not an I win instantly button either. If you watch JoJo's, then you know this. And they're like playing poker, and Darby the Elder, his power, right, is like to, what is it? What was his stand? Here, hold on. Darby the Elder stand. Was it seeing the, like, what the other person has? Okay, yeah, steals your soul after losing a game of gambling. That's his stand, right? So, like, he can steal your soul, and he's a cheater, right? He knows he's rigged the game. Okay, yeah, the younger brother, that's right, had the ability to tell if you're lying. And that's where the no, yes, that's where that comes from. But with Darby the Elder, oh god, that's gonna... Yeah, I knew it. With Darby the Elder, he lies constantly and like cheats and shit. And he has guaranteed, by the way, he has Jotaro dead to fucking rights. You know? And even still, he loses because Jotaro uses Star Platinum to out-bluff him. Like, the example, the thing that I'm thinking of is that he uses Star Platinum to, while Darby the Elder is distracted, get himself a drink and light a cigarette. So, like, Darby the Elder looks away for a split second. He looks back. There's a fruity drink in front of Jojo. He's like, how the fuck did that get there? What is a stand? What can it even do? And like, then he lights up the cigarette, and like Jotaro's getting increasingly confident. He's like, the fuck? He just lit that cigarette? What is going on? And that sows enough doubt in Darby's mind that he has a heart attack and like passes out on the spot and loses. But the whole time, Jotaro had junk. He didn't have a hand. He didn't have a good hand. But using Star Platinum that way was enough to sow doubt. Like, that like, oh shit, he could have switched out the cards. He could have a good hand. He could have cheated better than me. But no, Jotaro won with just an honest bluff. He's just better at the game than Darby the Elder. And he uses Star Platinum, a very basic stand, in a very creative way. And I really like that. And then, of course, there are stands that are more complicated, that are actually much, you know, probably easier to write in creative ways. Yeah, it's not about, like, objectively losing as per the terms of the game, I guess. Well, I guess in poker you could even consider it that, because in poker, if you fold, you lose, right? Like, you're out. And folding is an act of concession. You can have the best hand, you could have the winning hand, and if you concede, if you're not confident, you still lose. So it was like in Darby's heart, because Jotaro was able to manufacture such confidence in himself, he emotionally conceded completely, even though there was no fucking shot that Jotaro's hand would like beat him. And again, that is an incredibly creative use of a very basic stand concept, where he just like, he uses not the strength of Star Platinum, but the speed to like basically look Darby in the eyes and be like, go ahead. You know, like, how do you know you're not going to lose? And then the moment that Darby's like, oh, fuck, I don't know that I'm not going to lose, he loses it. Yeah, and then Stone Ocean is really cool because, like, well, it's a string. It's a fucking, like, telephone wire, right? You can listen to shit on the other end. Or you could tie a thread to something and, like, it's like a breadcrumb trail, kind of. The Mobius strip thing? I don't think I've... Oh, is that the kid that just, like, lives in a pocket dimension or some shit? Because I think I remember that one. JoJo's such a banger of a series. Get out of here, Graveler. Superpower system should be outsmarting everyone and not brute force. Yeah, that's why despite part 2 not having stands, that's probably why a lot of people really like part 2. Well, I mean, people like part 1 as well, but it, you know, it's just there's so much like mimetic, not mimetic, potential there. Like fucking Joseph Joestar is a walking meme. Literally the first episode, and he's like, all right, I believe you, but my Tommy gun don't. I'm smiling just thinking about it. JoJo's is fucking great. In part 3, they make fun of the power scaling in the earlier 2 parts repeatedly. Yeah, and I think that's like not without reason. Hamon wasn't the greatest like power scaling system. Although I actually think I wouldn't have it any other way because of the time period that the first 2 parts of JoJo's is set in. Part 1 of JoJo's is set in the late 19th century. And if you know anything about the history of like the 19th century, then you would know that like quack medicine had a fucking golden age in the 19th century. And one of the like 2 of the big things about quack medicine back in the day was like naturalistic remedies, which would include stuff like water healing and breathing techniques. You know, so it's like, oh, I trained with this mysterious medicine man who taught me this fucking crazy breathing technique, right? Like, that's totally believable. At least in the concept. And then the spin is that, like, oh, no, this breathing technique actually works. It gives you insane superpowers, you know? But it is kind of dumb in retrospect. And I think stands are way cooler. But again, like late 19th, early 20th century, I think that like the whole breathing technique, like monk guru training kind of thing works. It works and it makes sense. That part 7 is releasing this year? No, but I'm fucking excited for that. Part 7 is gonna be gas, dude. It's gonna be great. Art style somehow looks more cartoonish. Is okay. I might be remembering wrong. Is part 7 the part where President Bush is the bad guy? Or is that like part 8? Yes, it could not have released in a better time. Fuck yeah. I cannot fucking wait for the new season of JoJo's where you have to fight against the fucking President Bush's stand, the Patriot Act, or some shit like that. I don't even know. Legitimately, I feel I don't remember exactly what the president, which by the way, for people who don't know JoJo's, yes, the bad guy is literally the president, and the part 8 released in manga form in the early 2000s, so it is President Bush. I don't remember what his stand is, but I really fucking I don't think it was this, but I really fucking wish it was a joke about the Patriot Act. Like he could see your fucking internet search history or something. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap? Yeah, okay. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. It's actually one of the goofiest and most overpowered stands ever. Perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way, dude. I actually kind of love when stands just get goofy. Like, I kind of like that for Jotaro and Josuke, a lot of it was like punching power and stuff. Like, Josuke's was a little bit more complicated because his could punch shit and it would put it back together. I really liked the guy who's like superpower was what was it? He would like absorb you into the paper or something. Like if he could read, you would turn into a book. He would read you. Would open up the pages of your soul or whatever. If you looked at his sheet of paper or whatever, like his manga, and his character was a mangaka. And there's the one episode where Josuke is fighting against him, and he insults Josuke to bait him into looking at the paper, right? And then he's like, Owarida, like I have won. But then he just gets punched because what he didn't realize is that Josuke didn't actually see or give a shit about anything on the paper. He was just because he had his hair insulted. He was completely seeing red and only saw the guy's face and how hard he wanted to punch it. Phenomenal writing. Gonna have to pay attention to understand what's happening. It's almost as complicated as King Crimson. Yeah, one of the aforementioned wall of text stands. Here, let me look up JoJo Part 4. Let me see what was this guy's stand. Yeah, Heaven's Door. Heaven's Door. Okay. What was the function? Okay, book transmutation. Turn any living being into a book with pages unfurling from their bodies in the shape of the body part that it opens from. Right. Targets may experience varying degrees of incapacitation. And so like what was it? You just have to look at something. Where is it? Dang it. I forget what power it was. He can write down something, you can't disobey it. Fake manipulation. Yeah. Yeah, dude, so the stand power scaling gets kind of ridiculous, but I love it. Let me see if I can find the clip that I'm talking about. No, not this explanation ass video.
Heaven's door, heaven's door.
Okay, yes, Heaven's Door. Thank you. Where's the clip? What am I thinking of? Where's the Owarida part? I need the part where he says Owarida and Josuke just punches the shit out of him. No, that ain't right. Here, hold on. JoJo part 4, Owarida gets punched. Let's see. What was the guy's name?
Heaven's door, heaven's door.
Shut up, YouTube. Thank you. Okay. Ron Kishbe. JoJo part 4. Rohan gets punched. Alright. Let's get the... I'm gonna disable desktop audio for a second so you guys don't have to hear that shit. It's Okay, so he insults Josuke's hair. Thank you, yes, Rohan. He insults Josuke's hair. And it's like he needs him to look at the paper in order to incapacitate him, right? Like, because there's something written on the paper. Right on the paper, and he's like, oh, you get knocked out or something. But then where is okay, it's right here, I think.
Kattana.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. One more time for the fans, for the JoJo fans. Rewind it a couple seconds.
Kattana.
Cinema. Absolute cinema. Oh, I know. I'll insult his hair to get him to look at the paper. Then Josuke gets so mad from his hair being insulted that he doesn't fucking perceive the paper at all. There's automatic. Oh yeah, there's like passive stands as well. But yeah, that's one of my favorite JoJo moments. Like part 4, in some ways part 4 is kind of slept on, but it is still JoJo's, and it is still some fucking hilarious JoJo's. Did you finish 6? Yes, I did finish part 6. I have watched all of the parts of JoJo that have been released as anime. Miracle painting auction. What the f- Okay. I didn't know this was some shit. Smeargle, the artist known for his unique artistic vision, had a windfall day as one of his paintings was auctioned for 300 million poke yesterday. If you translate that to yen, that's like, what, $3 million? The auctioned artwork was one of Smeargle's signature works from early in his career. Good job, Smeargle. Damn, dude. Okay. Alright. Okay. Let me go get, no, let me not get people on my team first. That's something I'll do later. Where are my apples? There are my apples. I will take one. No, I didn't mean to do that. Put these away. Put these away. Yeah. Circle that can't be attacked. The circle? Mobius strip? You see this? Oh, yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, Jolene uses what is it? Fucking Stone Ocean to create Mobius strips of threads and strings so that the stand Sea Moon can't turn her body inside out and like fucking kill her. The only Jojo to die to the villain. Yeah, Kujo Jotaro. Jotaro dies in part 6. Spoilers again, but like, look, JoJo's has been out for fucking forever, so. No, well, Jolene doesn't die to what is it? Father, I don't fucking remember his name. Damn it. I need to go rewatch JoJo's, clearly. I need to pay closer attention. So I know my JoJo's lore and details and shit, because that show is incredible. She gets ripped into pieces in the ocean. What? No, she doesn't die though. Then she's alive at the end of the series. Because the universe rebooted? Yeah, well, we don't count that. We only count permanent deaths as character deaths. You know? Then Jotaro doesn't die either. Wait, does Jotaro come back? Okay, then maybe we do count those. I don't fucking know. Look, I'm as of part 6, what it looks like to me is that Jolene survived and Jotaro died, but look, I don't fucking know. It's JoJo's. They get up to some goofy shit in JoJo's. I'll have to see part 7 to see if that plays out at all, and then like rewatch part 6 probably. You know? Feels like that time reboot thing only happened to have a good ending. Yeah, I guess. It's kind of like when you write a villain that's too strong, you know? Mount Steel, Mount Blaze. Mount Blaze is quite a bit. Oh wait, no, that's also Mount Steel. Maybe. Would have been more gutsy if a child was the only survivor. Yeah, probably. Blaze, Frosty Forest. What is this? I don't know what that is. Yeah, whatever. Funny thing about Pucci's playing. Oh yeah, Pucci. That's right. That was his name. Everybody should have died when the vacuum was made. That's true. Me when my plan is for everybody to die. What? What? Why? What did he mean by this? Nobody knows. What's up, bro? The boss. All right, now today is a good day, isn't it? Yes, it is. I find it funny. Yeah, JoJo was so base for that. The main characters in part 6 were two butch lesbians, and the villain was a crazy religious person who was like part of a death cult, basically. They were cooking with that. They were also cooking with part 7. Yeah, by making George Bush the bad guy. That is some next level cookery. Fucking love that shit. Also, I figured out, actually, you guys might notice the light glare from the window isn't as severe. I figured if I just put the blinds the other way, it's actually a little bit harder for the sunlight to filter through in that way. Republicans are not going to like this season. Yeah, they're going to call it woke. It's going to be like, oh no, the fucking Republican US president is the bad guy, and his stand is like the Patriot Act or something. Dirty deeds done dirty cheap. And they're going to flip a shit. They're going to be like, you know what? JoJo has gone woke. And they're not going to fucking realize that part 7 came out in fucking 2003. Or something like that. Basically, what I'm saying is it's going to be great because we're going to instantly be able to sort out the, like, real JoJo fans from the fake ones who just pretended to be JoJo fans. At the same time, look, some good shit is happening right now. I just found out that JoJo's Part 7 is going to come out as like an anime next year. That's going to be awesome. Zoran Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York. Let's fucking go. I don't live in New York. It's been forever since I've been to New York, but that shit is awesome. And Dick Cheney died. Fucking cause for celebration. That's what I think, anyways. When does the election end today? I think the polls close at about 7 or 8 o'clock, but then they have to count the votes after that. In fact, let me look online. NYC, what time do polls close? Election day wait time app. Yeah, people are gonna fucking wait for those elections. Okay. Polling sites opened at 6 a.m. today, and polls will close at 9 p.m. Okay, so the polls close. That's just for voting. And if you're in line by 9 p.m., then it doesn't matter if you get there later than 9. As long as you are in line before 9 p.m., you will get to vote at the polling place, even if it's technically closed when you get there, right? Closes at 9. And then after that, you still have the like late votes from the people who were in line before 9 but didn't get to vote till after. And they have to count all the ballots that were cast on election day, or even potentially like early ballots that they've taken longer to count. So all right, I'm going to save the game. And and I'll save state, and then I'll go to... No, wait. Actually, I need to get Spiro on my team first. Is it Jack? There we go. Ravaged field. Okay, let me pay attention to where I am. Okay, I'm in the Badlands. I see. Only time I've ever been in New York is when I was born. I've been in New York. Well, been to. Last time I was in New York was like 2016. That's the last time I was up there. And it was like in the dead of night because of some fucking overseas flight chicanery. You know? I think I've told that story on stream before, but I will retell it if anybody's interested. Sure. All right. Yeah. So in 2016, my I had like a family emergency. Family member passed away. My granddad. And so we went to Morocco for his funeral. Actual victim of the American healthcare system, by the way. He like they dragged their feet on treatment. So thanks, fucking insurance system. Because of you, my granddad is not alive today. So we went to Morocco for a couple of weeks for the funeral and for some administrative stuff that you have to take care of when somebody passes away, especially when it's like in such a manner that they didn't expect to be passing away that soon, because it's like they haven't been able to get their affairs in order, whatever. And then we, on the flight back, like basically everything goes wrong that could possibly go wrong. This was before Morocco did direct flights to Dulles Airport, which is much closer to where we live than the other airport that they do direct flights to, which is JFK. JFK Airport in New York at the time, you had to fly there in order to fly from Morocco to the DC area. You had to get a layover in New York. And so we get to the airport. Things go like relatively smoothly up until the point that we're flying, right? Which is not a sentence you ever usually want to hear. So we're in the air, and a pilot says, okay, it looks like there are storms over New York, over JFK, right? I think we left the apartment in Morocco at like 11 in the morning that morning. And we got on the flight at like, fuck, I don't even remember what time. It was like 1 o'clock or something like that. Yeah. And then it's like a 7-hour flight across the Atlantic Ocean. So we were already in the air for 7 hours. And then because of the storms over JFK and the uncertainty and, I guess, lack of communication that the flight crew was receiving or something, we had to circle over New York for another couple hours. So that's 3 hours between leaving the house and getting on the plane, and then 7 hours. So that's already 10 hours. Now we're at 12 hours. Then we have to go and like sit on the tarmac at Boston Airport because of the storms. Like we can't get into JFK, so we have to go sit on the tarmac at Boston until the storms clear up, which is another like hour or two. Then it takes another hour for us to get back to JFK Airport, so that's like a good 3 hours extra. So now it's like 15 hours in transit, 12 of which have been just us being on the plane. And then when we're at JFK, obviously, we find out that, like, things are so, like, things have been so messed up in terms of the scheduling that, like, obviously our flight from New York to DC, or the DC area rather, was canceled. And we're like, okay, well, shit, we need to go get our luggage. And we go to the luggage conveyor belt, and my dad and my sister were there with me. I think my mom had like stayed in Morocco for a little bit longer. Yeah, I think she was there for like a couple weeks after we had left. But like we were waiting for our bags. My dad and my sister's bag came out relatively early, and then no lie, we wait for like 30 fucking minutes at the luggage conveyor for all the luggage to get offloaded from the plane, and my bag was nowhere to be found. They straight up, we found this out after the fact, because we had to go to we had to go to like the counter to figure out where the fuck my luggage went, because my clothes and toiletries were in that bag. Like, a lot of my stuff was in there. And it turns out what Royal Air Maroc did, that's the Moroccan airline, is they used to have a policy of this. I don't think they do it anymore. If a flight was like nearing or at the like weight capacity for luggage, they would just randomly select bags, or just they would just take whichever bags were like over the limit, or put them too close to the limit for weight, and they just chuck them on a different flight. So like people's bags would get separated. It was like a known thing that if you flew on Royal Air Maroc, you weren't guaranteed to get all your luggage back. Not immediately anyways. I did eventually get the suitcase back, but it was like another 2 weeks before that happened. So we're all tired as fuck. It's the middle of the goddamn night. And this is after like going 5 hours backwards. It's the middle of the night. So we've already, 11 o'clock a.m. to midnight is 13 hours plus 5 hours. That's a good 16 hours we've been in this fucking shitstorm. So my dad decides like, okay, we're just gonna go rent a car, and like we're yeah, the fucking airline flight from hell. My dad just decides, look, we're just gonna rent a car and straight up drive from New York back to the DC area, like right now. And so we went to do that. We went and rented a car, and we start driving, and we barely get out of view of the airport. Hello, Nancy Parker. We barely get out of view of the airport at JFK, and already we're seeing road work. And it turns out we get to a point where like traffic is really congested on like the parkway or whatever, and I think the parkway ended up being closed. Some guy like in a construction vehicle. Yes, it is story time. Fucking airline flight from hell. We've gone to the point where it's already like 2 o'clock in the morning, and guy in a construction vehicle pulls out across like all the lanes of traffic, gets out and starts talking on his phone, and then he pulls back after like 20-30 minutes of us sitting there, and there's a brand new set of traffic cones and a big detour sign. They were doing road work on the highway. So we had to go into Queens. We had to take the exit off the highway and go into Queens in the middle of the fucking night. Yeah, this is Nancy Parker. This is after we had left Morocco after a very emotionally like turbulent time, and gotten on a flight, circled around JFK for 2 hours after an already like 7 hour long flight, had to sit in Boston for an hour, go back to JFK, found out that my bag was gone because they threw it on a different flight, rented a car, and now we're at the point where we're stuck in traffic behind this big construction vehicle that's blocking all 4 lanes because they're setting up traffic cones, there's road work, and they pull back, and we're like, oh fuck, the highways, like the parkways shut down. We have to go into Queens. And it doesn't even stop there because the guy in front of us fell asleep behind the wheel of his car. And we had to lay on the horn to get him to wake up. And so finally we get moving again. It's like 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the goddamn morning. And we're in Queens. We are in Queens. This is when we lived in the DC area, by the way. We're in Queens, and the good thing, you know, positive, I know that New York City, even when I was 15, I knew, okay, New York City is laid out on a grid. I can pull up directions. Bad news, my dad's phone is almost out of battery. So we're like, oh fuck. We have to go find, like, drive around and try to find a random traffic officer in the middle of the night that just happened to be, like, on a street corner and ask him, like, hey, we're stuck here. We need to get on the highway. Can you give us directions? And the officer's like, yeah, sure. You just, you know, you go down that way, blah, blah, blah. He gave us directions to get like on the highway. And then like, oh, okay, finally it's it's like, I think at this point it's like 3:30. We fucking get out of Queens onto the highway. And I get like the most liminal, probably worst quality, but not worst feeling actually, night of sleep of my life. And we make it back to the DC area. I might be like butchering what time these things happened because I think it was like a 4-hour drive or something. And we got back to our house at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, which is about the time that I would be waking up. So maybe it might have been like 2:30 when we got into Queens, and then the drive home took about like 4 hours. Or like 3.5 hours. Which means, if you go from 11 a.m. you go from 11 a.m. one day to 7 a.m. the next day. That is, let's see, 24 minus 4, that's 20 hours, add 7. That is 27 straight hours of trying to get home. Yeah, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And then, like, when I was back home, the problems obviously didn't end. I was sleep deprived. I had a massive fucking headache and stomach ache for about 2 days. Thankfully, it was only 2 days because I was 15 and you can, like, jump off of a roof when you're 15 and you'll be fine the next day. And then, like, after 2 weeks, finally, they mailed my suitcase to me. And I was like, fuck, dude. All that off of the heels of my granddad dying because of the American healthcare system, or lack thereof. That is, like, the reason I can recall that with so much clarity after, like, fuck, that was like 9 years ago. After 9 years, the reason I can recall that with so much clarity is because so many traumatic things happened all at the fucking same time, you know? Jesus. We can expect that after this? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you thought the American health insurance system was bad before, or healthcare system rather, was bad before. It's about to get even fucking worse. How old are you now? I am 25. This happened when I was 15. About to turn 16, I think. What's up, Geodude? That story might make a good YouTube video, I'm not gonna lie. I need to share that pain with the world. What did he die of? Cancer. It was preventable too. We couldn't we had to go out of country to get treatment. Because treatment in America was literally too expensive. It was something like $30,000 per chemo treatment. As we had to go back to his home country to get treatment. And granted, treatment was cheaper there, but the quality of medical care in a third world country is not as good as the quality of medical care in the United States. There's no two ways about it. You know, there's like no way around it. So sorry to hear that as well. Well, yeah, you know, thank you. It's you know, it's been a while. So grandmother died of blood cancer. Yeah, but people just be having family that dies of cancer and shit. And it's not like cancer is extremely fucking dangerous. But it's not a sure shot that you die from it, right? If you catch cancer early, it's possible for you to get it treated, and it's possible for people to actually defeat cancer long term. I've had family members who have had cancer and overcome it. Like, you know, they may have had health complications later, but, you know, it's possible for that to be like something that you recover from. But the United States healthcare system actually exacerbates those circumstances. Percentage of surviving is a bit low. It depends. Again, it depends on which stage you catch cancer in. If you catch cancer very early, then it's possible for you to recover from it and to have like a long-term recovery or to live a relatively stable life, medically speaking, after the fact, you know? But yeah, if you catch it, if there's if you catch it too late in the process, if it is already like metastatic, or close to metastatic, there's not a lot that you can do, and you're pretty much on a timer. The issue is the issue here, even in the United States, even if you catch it early, you're basically fucked because it's extremely expensive to get treatment for it. I hope they got the cure soon. Getting the cure for cancer would not fix the bind that we're in, but like, yeah. In fact, there have been a number of like blip controversies that I'm sure are going to burgeon into something larger, where the medical industry in the United States has to varying degrees recognized that curing cancer is not a sustainable business model. Not my words, by the way. Their words, not mine. You can have hope for it at least. Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, and that is legitimately like, even if those incentives are there, the motivation of people, of, you know, doctors, other medical practitioners, and whatever, will usually, and I'd say almost always be towards like curing diseases, curing them. Oh, really? Yeah, let me, in fact, I'll see if I can even find that, that quote. Here, hold on. Yeah, this is very infamous from 2018 from Goldman Sachs investing like in a biotech research report. This is from a while ago, but like everybody fucking exploded at this article. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? Goldman Sachs analysts attempted to address a touchy subject for biotech companies, especially those involved in the pioneering gene therapy treatment. Cures could be bad for business in the long run. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? The potential to deliver one-shot cures is one of the most attractive aspects of gene therapy, genetically engineered cell therapy, and gene editing. However, such treatments offer a very different outlook with regard to recurring revenue versus chronic therapies. Psychotic. Actually psychotic. That businesses consider this shit. While this proposition carries a tremendous value for patients and society, it could represent a challenge for genome medicine developers looking for sustained cash flow. Richter cited Gilead Sciences treatment for hepatitis C, which achieved cure rates of more than 90%. Company's U.S. sales for these hepatitis C treatments peaked at $12.5 billion in 2015, but have been falling ever since. Goldman estimates the U.S. sales for these treatments will be less than $4 billion this year, according to a table in the report. They're correct, by the way. Curing patients is bad for business. The problem is they are arguing we should stop curing patients instead of we should change how doing business works. You know? By the way, that's the logic that governs the entire medical industry and sector in the United States. Anyways, this was supposed to be like story time about the worst experience on a fucking airplane flight I've probably ever had in my life, and hopefully will ever have. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Cut the segment there, future me. That's why they charge that much. Yeah, in economics, that's known as inelastic demand, or an inelastic good, where like medicine is something that you inarguably need in order to survive, right? So there's no limit to how much money a business could get. Mudkip, you are a moron. There's no limit to how much money a business could charge for medicine, because it's your options when confronted with a company saying we can cure you or treat you so that you will live longer. Your options are pay up or die. You know? So, and those are the only two choices. There's no other like third option. So, in the absence of any sort of regulation, price control, or whatever, or different structure of incentives, the incentive is to increase the price severely and infinitely, you know? That's why chemotherapy is $30,000 per treatment, because they can just do it. Like, what, are you just gonna choose to die? Damn. Fun fact, the government pays 99% of disease research and gives it to private companies. Oh yeah, any industry that's essential for a society to survive and flourish and be stable, the government knows that. The government is pumping endless amounts of money, which is good, by the way. We need to be investing resources into this shit, but they're giving private companies free money to prop up these industries. You know? The government funds like all that medical research, all of the like medicine that you have to buy over the counter, or that costs like hundreds of dollars for you to be prescribed, or the chemotherapy that costs thousands of dollars for you to be treated with. You already paid for that. It's called taxes. You already paid the taxes that went to the government, that then went into medical subsidies. That shit is all bought and paid for already. Hopped off from your account. I guess it's totally worth it. Oh, welcome. I regret to inform you that I'm actually that post is kind of outdated, because I'm now. I went and DM'd one of the artists earlier that responded to the post, and I'm working with them now. But nonetheless, you know, welcome. Glad to have you here. Though I am sorry to disappoint on that front. But yeah, like, your food paid for already. You paid for that. Your medicine, paid for. You paid for that already. Your electricity, paid for. You paid for that already. A lot of the essential, like all the essential services in society, if you pay taxes, you already paid for that shit. That's fine. I enjoyed the stream. Well, thank you. You know, that's how subsidies work. If the government gives subsidies to a company because you fund the government gets revenue through your taxes. You know? Effectively, you're having to pay for everything twice whenever you go to the doctor's office because you already, you know, you pay your taxes, presumably. Then you have to pay the sticker price of whatever the company decides. And the company, again, because it's an inelastic thing, medical care is inelastic, they can just charge whatever the fuck they want for it. And the government will foot the bill behind the scenes, and they'll stick you with the bill up front. Let's cut out the middleman. Indeed, I agree. Adam Smith capitalist take. Cut out the middleman. Cut the private business and market out of medicine and food and like fucking basic infrastructure. Have that shit controlled by the public sector. This is a socialist take, but this is a take that Adam Smith would agree with. Adam Smith fucking hated middlemen. He hated rent seeking. So, you know, which way, Western man? Capitalism or Adam Smith? You cannot choose both. Let me take these jobs. I think I'm going to go for Mount Blaze first. I will visit. Check. Okay. I know the middlemen wouldn't be too happy with that, but you know, again, it's the whole they would rather rule over the smoldering remains of society than be equal in paradise. Do I have anything I need to put away? No, I do not. I could just save the game and then head out to Mount Blaze. What happens next in this game? Here, I think I should be Uncle will look me in the eye and say corporations invest so much money in development treatments. Ha, they don't invest money in shit. You know what corporations do? They buy their own stock. They pay their executives. They pay their shareholders. That's what corporations do. You know when the fucking government invests all that money? Jesus Christ. The government gives it to corporations. Hell, they might not even invest all that money into like the fucking research like they're supposed to. Okay, here's the deal. I think I'm gonna go to Mount Blaze, and then if I'll check the area in the next, like the following morning. If the story development that I'm thinking has to happen next doesn't happen next, then I'm just gonna go and like try to brave it through Buried Relic on the next stream. Or hell, maybe I'll even... Well, I don't want to make any promises. I was going to say maybe I'll try to go through the fucking 99 floor dungeon this stream. I don't know how that's going to pan out for me. Not Blaze. Let's see what's up. Executor. Oh god, grass type in Mount Blaze. This is gonna go swell. Since it's an escort mission, I'm not gonna explore the full floor. I'm just gonna take the stairs as soon as I can. Even though there is some good EXP to be had. Okay. Oop. Slugma? What's Slugma, you may ask? Slugma face at 1 million miles an hour. Alternatively, Slugma balls. Thank you. This has been the comedy stream. I'm just by virtue of even attempting a joke. This makes me funnier than all of the right-wing comic sphere. Thank you very much. I will be here all week. Thanksgiving's gonna be fun this year. Oh, fuck. Can you imagine? Thanksgiving is like memed on for being the holiday where like that one, like, or in some cases maybe even more than one, insufferably like conservative family members just makes things hellish for everybody. Or if like everybody's an insufferable conservative, they all try to fucking harass the one person who isn't. You know? I don't like this holiday. I know that sounds like harsh, but I really do not like Thanksgiving. I have a secret weapon? Based. My family exactly. Where everybody's conservative except for like one person. Oh god, I'm so sorry, dude. My family minds their own business on Thanksgiving. That's at least good. Fucking, what's the term? Like a tense peace. Everybody's like, okay, let's maybe not engage here. Silver gummy. It keeps putting me right next to the stairs, which is pretty nice. But you know. Don't know how that's going to translate to the last couple floors. I've started looking into Israel now against the lobby. That's good. Although it is there is a concerning trend emerging where like the Groypers are like kind of gaining inroads on the right. So now it's like the majority of people are anti-Israel, but now on the right, that's like there's a growing anti-Israel right that's just they're anti-Israel because in their brain Israel equals Jews and they hate Jews. Keep bringing back the topic to Israel and they'll fight for me. That's good. Be better for us. They're not really good at hiding it. That is true. That is true. You've reached a destination floor. Hey, level 37. My plan is to rage bait them. The bro is scheming, dude. As I can't turn them. True. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving always ends up being such a shit show. Wait, I totally skipped the fucking thing on the 10th floor. Oh, damn it. Get him out of here. Don't tell me this Elekid ran into a random hallway and is hiding. Or Nidorino, not Elekid. Elekid's the one that I skipped by accident. Ah! Yes, I will leave the dungeon. And I'll delete that other... Well, maybe I won't delete it. There could be more stuff on Mount Blaze that I could go back to, but I will probably put it on hold. That beam disintegrated them. You just fucking die. Vaporized from orbit. They called in an airstrike. Work for today. Should get some rest. Okay. All right. Moment of truth. If nothing happens in terms of post game progression, then I am actually going to just have to go to the 99 floor dungeon, because the game is just saying, like, you will endure 99 floors of torture. Yeah, nothing ever happens. I know this isn't where the post game ends. I know that the post game continues beyond this. In fact, I know from my experience playing Rescue Team DX that the post game should have advanced by now. Like, I should have gotten to the next stage already, but I guess not. All right, well, 99 floor dungeon time. Fuck. Truly nothing ever happens moment. Alright. So in preparation for the 99 floor dungeon, I'm going to need a lot of stuff. By which I mean many apples and fucking... max elixirs. I think they want kids to play this until the next entry. Yeah, this, by the way, this was not even the only 99 floor dungeon in this game. There are multiple dungeons in this game that have 99 floors. Completely I think I'm gonna actually store the apples that I have and take a few huge apples. Opinion on alpha Pokemon as a concept. Are those the Pokemon that have like the glowing red eyes? And are like really big, like the boss, mini boss Pokemon? Because I liked them in Legends Arceus. Yeah. You catch them, the glowing eyes disappear? Well, yeah. Because they're not like completely unhinged anymore. But I think, don't you still get a little red symbol that indicates that they're an alpha Pokemon next to them? How many huge apples? Or I will take... Did you see the new Pokemon game? Yes, I did. I actually ordered it online because I had some just random spare gift card money laying around. They aren't even trying anymore. That's the thing. They are. The developers are actually trying. The problem is that there's a fundamental breakdown of incentives between the people actually working on the game and the people who are dictating the deadlines and marketing of the game. Pokemon Legends ZA that have a deeper voice. Yeah, I think that's the same in Legends Arceus. This is not, by the way, this is not the only game franchise that has suffered from this problem. Street Fighter has had this problem. Street Fighter V was victim to very much the same problem. Street Fighter V looks like ass. Right? There's so much programming jank in that game, in Street Fighter 4 as well. that was a result of the game being rushed because of marketing purposes, for financial reasons. And with Pokemon, it doesn't help that Game Freak is still, like, small. There's only, like, 200 people working at Game Freak, which, believe me, that is not a lot for a AAA game title, you know? Nintendo has actually, like, the higher-ups have not been putting the money, time, or people investments into Pokemon that the game needs to be good. But the devs are trying anyway. People, like, you gotta understand, this is the product of decision-making of people who have never touched a development cycle for a Pokemon game, because their job is the financial well-being of the companies of Game Freak, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company, right? Their job is to make sure line keeps going up. And so they're like, okay, we have to have a game out by this date. And now the developers just get handed that, and they don't get to say anything about it. They're like, well, fuck, you know? I played the game, I can tell there's effort behind it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that the devs clearly cared about. They just didn't have the time, money, or people to finish it because Nintendo didn't give them that. Every company is like this, by the way. You know? Increasingly, there's a lot of games that have this problem where, like, the devs clearly care about the game that they're making, or maybe they don't. In some cases, maybe they don't. But, like, there's a feel where you can tell, like, whoever was working on this game cared about it, but they didn't have enough time to finish. You know? Whenever a game's the problem, they always blame the people on the bottom. And that's how you know that the marketing people are good at their jobs, is because effortlessly people blame the devs instead of the executives. I'm going to take a stamina band so I can hold it. But I did actually, out of the gate from Pokemon Legends Z to A or ZA, I think people kind of recognized that, like, okay, this is obviously not the developer's fault, right? Like the people who are actually trying to program the game, this is not their fault that the game is bad. Because they didn't have the time, they didn't have the money. This is on Nintendo because they keep not hiring more people for Game Freak. They keep not giving Pokemon enough money to make a AAA game. And they keep trying to force these 3-year development cycles. I think I saw something that indicated that Pokemon would no longer adhere to the 3-year development cycle, and they've pushed the release date back for the next Pokemon game. Which, by the way, is a weird concept that you have to know the release date of the next Pokemon game before you even know what it is, what it's going to be about, and, like, what's going to change. That should tell you everything you need to know about why Pokemon games keep releasing in such a rushed and unfinished looking state. You know? Because the timetable is set before people can even figure out what kind of game they're making. You know? That's the fucking problem. Games are media. It's a form of art. Sure, you could call Pokemon slop, and that would be a fair assessment. But at the same time, it's still a form of art. It's media. And that takes time to produce. That takes time to make, to write. But the devs at Game Freak don't have that time because the primary concern of the people who have the power to make any decisions is not whether the game is good. They literally, in marketing, they literally have a term called minimum viable product. Literally, how little can we give to the development cycle of this product so that people will still buy it when we need to release it, right? I promise you, minimum viable product is not something that you truck and barter in if you're one of the artists or programmers or developers working on a game. That is some shit that you hear in the boardroom, in a marketing meeting. Garen fucking Teed. Let me double check what I was thinking about here. Pokemon stop 3-year cycle. Story's goofy sometimes in a good way. I could give a shit, like, honestly, I could kind of give a shit whether a Pokemon game has a good story, unless it's Mystery Dungeon, in which case I expect those games to have banger stories, which is why I was kind of disappointed by Gates to Infinity and Super Mystery Dungeon. But yeah. Here, hold on. I swear I saw this somewhere, that there's an update for the game tomorrow. I can't wait to not buy whatever DLC they release. I swear I saw something. I can't find it now, but I could have sworn I saw something that indicated it's just an update. Okay. Could have sworn I saw something that indicated that they would potentially be breaking the 3-year development cycle and be like pushing the game, pushing the release date back for future games. Like, okay, we're going to give them longer than 3 years to work on this, right? And it's not like this is a problem that every Nintendo game has, because like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were clearly good. You know? This is clearly something that Pokemon suffers from uniquely. And the reason for that, I think, is that Nintendo has decided that, like, this is actually a product of Nintendo being part of, like, the Japanese market, like, business environment, has more ethics than your average American company. Yeah, they've decided that Pokemon is their one money cow, right? They're like, okay, in order to keep the lights on, we have to have one cash cow. That's going to be Pokemon. If this were an American company, they would have done that for every fucking game, you know? Which is why you see much more infrequent releases for other Nintendo series that end up being bangers when they do release, you know? Because they've decided, okay, we can afford to give these games more lenient development cycles. With Pokemon, we have to be so completely on the grind that we're hitting those quarterly, yearly, and like 5-year growth targets, right? There's a fundamental breakdown of incentives in an economy that is determined by market fluctuations and the need for cash flow. They also refuse to give voice acting, and it shows. Yeah, that, again, another thing that, like, the executives weren't willing to invest resources in that the game would benefit from, that I have no doubt that the dev team and you know, any voice actors they contact will be more than happy to do. I guarantee you that there are people that within Nintendo, within Game Freak, whatever, that would be willing to and happy to work on Pokemon in such a manner. The problem is that means that it takes a little longer to release each Pokemon game, and Nintendo is not okay with that because they need money. You may read this as me defending Nintendo, but no, this is me attacking capitalism for destroying Pokemon. You know? Yes, you can blame capitalism for your game being bad, because I guarantee you, in most cases, unless the game was a blatant cash grab, in which you can still blame capitalism just in a different way, the artists wanted to make the game good. They just weren't given the time or resources because, you know, this is a market. You know, we have this budget. We need the game out by this date so we can meet these targets, so we can keep the lights on, because that requires money. This is a problem with capitalism. This is a problem with an economy driven by money. This is an inherent problem. This is why I fucking hate gamers, by the way. Because you hear some shit like this, right? And clearly, they're pointing to a real thing. The game is in an unfinished state. But all of their negativity gets sunk into the game. They literally, it's like they are treatlers. They're mad at the quality of the candy they've been given and don't stop to think about why it's that way. Like, every time I see gamers attacking something, whether it's the sticker price of the Switch 2, which is not that fucking bad, by the way, get over yourselves. or like a Pokemon game being unfinished, like being unfinished on release, which is a fair critique, but something that happens to a lot of games. It will always stick with, man, I hate Nintendo. Man, I hate Pokemon. This game sucks. No, absolutely no interrogation of underlying causes that could be contributing to that. I don't think a game needs voice actors to be good. Hot take. Yeah, just look at earlier Pokemon games, you know, generations 1 and 2. Again, like very much earlier time. And like, you know, very different considerations in terms of like technological constrictions or whatever. But like, you can have a good game that doesn't have voice acting. Hell, look at the game I'm playing right now. You know? It literally, all the people who are like, oh, they should do this and this and this, blah, 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 blah. Like, but with no interrogation of the underlying, like, look, and the 3-year development cycle, we have to like address the underlying problem that they're not giving enough resources for this game to be good. That you're just wanting to have the cake and eat it too. I'm sorry. You want to buy the game where the company is happy realizing a half-finished product? Then don't fucking buy it. Don't make a huge thing. Like, don't fucking virtue signal, oh, I'm not buying this. You know what people sound like when they say that? They sound like children. They sound like, in the most pejorative possible sense, they sound like a fucking kid throwing a tantrum because the cake doesn't taste good enough. Can we act like adults? Can we look at the cake and be like, okay, why is the cake arriving in this kind of state? You know? Yeah, people, it like, when capitalism even threatens your escapism, people simply try to retreat further into escapism. Fucking depressing, if anything. This is why, by the way, this is why I don't interact with a lot of fan bases online. Unironically, you guys know how toxic the Star Wars fan base is. I have had a significantly better time interacting with the Star Wars fan base than with the Pokemon fan base. Because as time has gone on with Star Wars, more people have realized that, like, oh, it's about like galactic politics and stuff. This is really interesting. There's the whole series is defined by world building and like myth making, both you know, in a spiritual sense and by secular like machinations that are present in the real world, but can be now recontextualized in this iconic fantastical setting with interstellar travel and all that shit. It's a captivating universe, and that's sort of the direction it's taken, which has sort of, despite all the toxicity around what is canon or not, people engage with an underlying set of framing devices and logic and principles that govern the Star Wars world, if that makes sense, and that are very relevant to the real world, right? It's like it's unavoidable. And then you have the Pokemon fan base, whose presence online I am limited to seeing insofar as it's, this game sucks, I won't buy it. By the way, here's gameplay footage. Can you give it a rest, please? I'm tired of people saying that shit every time, because clearly it's not actually harming the sales numbers. Get over yourselves. You know? Yeah, and then those people would stare at you in the face and say Pokemon isn't political. Legitimately, you would try to explain to them why the game is in such a bad state and how to fix that. And they would look at you and say, why are you introducing politics? I'm working myself up over this. I'm going to stop. What's going on in Discord? Anyways, looks like you're in for a long stream again today, so... Yeah, they just want to have infinite dopamine hit in the pod. We live in the pod, or something, you know? Type shit. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give gummies to this guy. Then I'm going to have Spiro join the team. Then I'm gonna finish out those last two mazes. Then I'm gonna drop Spiro from the team and head out to the fucking 99 floor dungeon. People are like, I want to turn off my brain forever and never turn it on. Yeah, I mean, again, that's called escapism. You know? Alright, now it is maze time. Personally, I like analyzing the games I play. Yeah, I think that's a healthy way to engage with media, even if it's lowest common denominator media. In fact, that makes it way more fun for me to play games or watch movies that are lowest common denominator type of stuff, right? Like, take Star Trek, like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, right? Those movies get way more fucking interesting if you do meta-analysis, you know? You can watch those movies and very easily see the political context that sort of produced them, you know? I've got getting some notifications. I'll have to check on that in a minute. This is, I think the only dragon types you encounter in this maze are, yeah, Bagon and Shelgon. You know what? Actually, I'm just gonna do the two mazes and then I will end stream. Next time I pick up the you know, the stream again, I'll go and do the 99 floor dungeon. But this time I think I can't do that. I think there's a couple things I need to do that I need to check up on and stuff. And videos I need to edit, if I'm being real. I would trade for you so you can complete the Pokedex for ZA if you want my help. Thank you, that's very considerate. But I have long since abandoned the whole National Dex sort of completion project as a thing. The last time I finished the National Dex in any game was, I believe, X and Y. You know, there's just been too many Pokemon to like justify doing that since then. you know. Okay. It's kind of weird that the opposing team, like quote unquote team, in these mazes can have 4 Pokemon when you can only have 3 on a team. Alright. Akita Dojo. Now I just need to do the dark and steel mazes. And I am still, like, despite these being the last 2 mazes, I am still treating this kind of as an opportunity to EXP farm a little bit. Mostly for Spearow. Okay, that just goes here. Is this only gonna be Uchiana? Dang. I guess Houndour was in the fire type maze. Second floor. It's a shame they don't change levels too. I think they're always set to, like, I don't know what level they're set to, but it's not very high. You know, it is kind of like free EXP, but like you have to rely on some of the Pokemon that have naturally higher EXP values or whatever. More time till the protection money is gone for food stamps. At the current rate, so the Trump administration is dragging its feet. It only agreed to provide half the necessary funding to last for the month of November. So there's 2 possibilities from that. 2 realistic possibilities, that is. The one unrealistic possibility I see is that eventually they are forced to pony up the full amount of $9 billion, in which case food stamps would be funded until the end of November. The other 2 possibilities that I view as realistic that are probably going to unfold one way or the other is that they don't pony up the full amount, and either scenario 1, food banks and grocery stores are forced to ration their supplies so that effectively there's only like half the food available, but for the whole month, if that makes sense. Like, food stamps are severely diminished but technically last through the month of November. Or they try to give the full complement of what food stamps, what SNAP is supposed to. And in that case, it runs out in half a month. So depending on what happens, either SNAP runs at basically like operates at full capacity for 2 weeks or half capacity for 4. Either way, people are going hungry this month. Did bro only do 1 damage? Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here doing more than 200 damage. Okay, so here we have, there's Aeron and Beldum. Excuse me? Go ass out of here. God damn it. What's the quality of ghost types in these games? What do you mean? Like, are there good ones? I mean, there's Ghastly, there's Shuppet, there's Duskull, and Dusclops and Misdreavus. The unfortunate thing is, this is a Generation 3 game, so this is pre-physical special split. So all Ghost-type moves are physical. So that means Shuppet and Banette are pretty good to have on your team. You know, if they learn, like, Shadow Sneak or Shadow Punch. Or even just Lick. You know, that's pretty good. And I think most Ghost types, if not all of them, can walk through the walls, which makes them extremely annoying to deal with. But for the likes of, yeah, the Sus move, Ghost types getting freaky with it. For Ghastly and Misdreavus, unless they have a Psychic type move or, like, Dark type move, they're kind of useless. Or not kind of useless, I guess. It's just weird that, like, the special moves are all, like, Psychic and Dark type, because physical and special are determined by type, and not whether a move is actually physical or special in this game. Stats are also significantly different in this game. So you'll see, like, Pokemon that are supposed to be one kind of attacker will have very split stats. For example, Spearow has 33 special attack and 31 attack. Spearow's special attack is actually higher in this game. So, like, you can run off of either attack stat. Like, I think the fact that Ghost type moves are physical ends up working out pretty fine in this game. You know? I would say Ghost types are just really annoying to fight more than anything. Which in turn can make it frustrating when they're not as useful as teammates. You know? Just because of the way that, like, being a teammate Pokemon works versus being a opponent Pokemon. Because an opponent Pokemon only has to KO one Pokemon, and that's you. So their whole, like, moveset and identity can be structured around being as annoying as possible. But you, the player, and your team, you have to go through a lot of Pokemon. So a lot of times you can't afford to slow down and stick with just harassing one Pokemon at a time in the dungeons, because you're, like, fighting a bunch. So Ghost types are a little bit stronger when you're fighting against them versus when you have them on your team. The exception being boss battles, because in boss battles, the tables are turned, where now it's your turn to be as annoying as you can to one Pokemon particularly. Yeah, it's the, like, fuck this guy in particular loadout, you know? I did it! I beat all the training courses. I promised a reward, so here it is. Bonsly Doll. That was added. That was added for the DS port of this game. Because this game was released before they had come up with Bonsly. Check Discord. I will. Huh? Israelis say they will never visit New York City if Mamdani wins and becomes mayor. Based? That makes me want people to vote for him even harder? Israelis are fucking horrible tourists? Holy shit. Israelis are tourists, like, are so bad as tourists that they are the single saving grace of Dutch tourists. Because, like, you can encounter, like, annoying Dutch tourists and whatever, but then you're reminded, you know what? They're not as bad as Israeli tourists, you know? Put that ginseng away. The rest of this I will keep because it is gonna go with me next time, and I'm yawning. I'm tired. You're right. You were right, bro. The boss. That is absolute cinema. I voted for him 10 times from California. He is my mayor. Yeah, true. I need to go cast actually my 6th ballot for Zoran Mamdani, which is why I have to log off now. True story. Real. Real and true. I'm gonna raid somebody. Yeah, I'm gonna raid somebody. Oh my fucking god. Liv Agar is I'm turning into Obama. Fuck. Is playing EU5. Yeah, the next day the fucking FBI raids my house. I am going to raid Liv Agar. Europa Universalis 5. I've actually been enjoying content for that game because, you know, EU4 was like the Deus Vult based and red-pilled ethno-nationalist expansion game. EU5 is the, like, fucking pops, am I right, guys? Like, infrastructure development game. I actually really like the direction they took Europa Universalis in with EU5. There's still some kinks to work out, obviously. Enjoy Liv Agar and the Europa Universalis gameplay. EU5 particularly, which is looks a lot better than EU4, I'll tell you that much. Alright, see y'all later.